Morning. I hope you're all right and having a good day so far. Today, in our maths session, we're going to be just revisiting a little bit about bar models. When we looked at these as part of our division and multiplication work, it was clear that some of you were keen to use them and knew how to use them, and some of you were quite reluctant, so you weren't very keen to use them. Now, they're going to feature in a lot of the work that you do in maths in year three, year four, year five, and year six, because they're a really useful tool. So I want to just use them a little bit today to look at multiplication and division. And once we've used them, hopefully you'll be more familiar with them and you'll be more willing to use them. Okay, to use them today, we're going to be thinking particularly about our 3, 4, and 5 times table. So we're going to begin by revisiting those multiples. We're going to discuss how these bar models help us. So we're going to look at how they'll support us in our learning. And then we're going to solve some questions that are based on them. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit and show you some examples, but most of today's little recap session is about you using these tools. So, first of all, we need to remember our 3, our 4, and our 5 times table. So what I'd like you to do now is pause the video, maybe pause it for 3 minutes and see if you can write down the multiples of 3, the multiples of 4, and the multiples of 5. So you're looking, for example, the product for the first one of the two factors of 0 and 3. So 0 times 3 are the two factors. What's the product? Just write down the products, just write down those multiples of 3, then just write down those multiples of 4, then just write down those multiples of 5. Pause the video now, give yourself 3 minutes. Go. Okay, and coming back. So if you haven't paused it already, you need to in 3, in 2, in 1. Let's see how you did with your multiples of 3. Did you notice anything about them all? The interesting thing about them, if you add the digits together, so if you look at the 2-digit numbers, so for example 12, 1 add 2 is 3. 1 add 5 for 15 is 6. 1 add 8 is 9. 2 add 1 is 3. What do you notice about those? They're all multiples of 3 as well, aren't they? Okay. So the gap between each one of them goes up in 3s because they're multiples of 3. And let's see what changes. What do we notice about our 4s? Now, what's the same about our 4s? Well, the gap is the same as the times table we're going up in. All of our 4s, all of our multiples of 4 are even. How about our 3 times table? 3 is not even, but 6 is. 9 is not even, but 12 is. So what do you notice is the same about your multiples of 3? What's different? Okay, now moving on, what do we notice about our 5s? Any patterns we notice? Lots of us noticing the final digit, so the ones value. 0, then 5, then 0, then 5. Well done, Chloe. Then 0, then 5, then... Yeah, Darcy's got it. So 0, then 5, then 0, then 5, then 0, then 5. Easy peasy, really. Always going to be a 0 or a 5, okay? 0 or a 5. So it's good to spot those little patterns as we go through these, okay? So spotting these little patterns as we go through these. Okay, so those are our multiples of 3, 4, and 5. Helpful to know, really useful to know, especially if we're going to unpick more complicated questions using our bar models, okay? So hopefully you wrote those down. Well done if you did. Now, this is a bar model. This was in our multiplication and division assessment recently where we were looking at what you understood. Now, I'm lucky because I'm a teacher and I'm a parent. So when my children get work from school, I know what it's on about sometimes. Most of the time I do. However, if I'm a mum or a dad and I've not been to school for a while, I might not know what bar models are. And that's why I think bar models are tricky to understand with home learning. Now, where you've been asked here to complete the bar model, the idea is the big bar at the top is the value, the whole. And the little bars are the sections that each that add together or that multiply together to make the whole. So 35 is the product. So if you remember earlier our products, but the 0 in the first row, 3 in the second row, or the 4 or the 5, and the 6, the 8, and the 10 in the third row. The product is the outcome when we multiply two factors together. So our product here is 35. And we can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 small bars that have been combined to make a product of 35. So what we've got to identify is what goes with 5 to make 35. Because if we look back here, if we look in our 5 times table, because we know one of our factors is 5 in our bar, right? Our bar has got 5 little sections to it. So we know it's going to be a factor, but it's going to be 5 and another factor to make the product of 35. So if we look on our product on our 5 times table, I can see that something amount of 5s is 35. What's that? Yeah, Reuben, lovely job. 7 lots of 5. So 7 times 5 is 35. Therefore, I know that each of my sections is worth 7. I'll do 7 times 5 because I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 7 times 5. So 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7. 7 times 5 is 35. Okay. So the product there, the overall answer is that top bar. The sections that it's split into when it's a multiplication or division is one of the factors, the number of sections there are, and then the amount that goes into each of those sections is the other factor that we multiply the first factor by to make our product. Right, guys, here we've got a slightly trickier question. You saw this as a written question, but you didn't see it as a bar. Now, if you've got 32 cars and you have to tidy them away and you can put 8 in each box, what times table are you thinking about? Because you can see that 8's a number here and you can see that 32 is. But that doesn't help you yet because you haven't done your 8's today, have you? You've done your 4's, your 3's and your 5's. If you're looking for 32, 32 will only appear as product in one of these 3 times tables. Is it in the 3's? No, there's 30 and 33. Is it in the 4's? Yeah. Is it in the 5's? No, you know it's not because it's not got a 0 or a 5 in the 1's value. So therefore, 32 is only a product, is only a multiple of 4. Now I know that the other factor which goes with 4 to make 32 is 8. So now I'm thinking, 8. Well, I've got 8 boxes, 8 cars in each box. So what I've got to do is work out how many sections, if I was doing this as a bar model, I'd need to make my 32. So I can think of my big bar of 32 and I can think of how many little bars should I split that hole into? Well, I've got 8. That's not the same as 32. It's smaller. Now I've got another 8. So 8 add 8, still not the same, is it? It's 8 add 8 is 16. Still not the same. I've got 8 add 8 add 8. So 3 lots of 8. That's 24. But now I knew this anyway because I'm great at times tables like Tavon and I'm fantastic at them like Victor and everybody else in the class, and therefore I can now see that actually 8 times 4. Okay, so 3 lots of 8 wasn't the correct value. It was 4 lots of 8. So 8 times 4. So each section of this bar is worth 8. So I needed 4 sections, so 4 boxes, and each one is worth 8. So Leah got there, didn't you? You're as brilliant as your brother at times tables, I'm sure, Leah. And you're going to be really, really good at using bar models, I'm sure. Right, guys, so you can see now that there's 4 sections and each one is worth 8. Okay. Now, 2 bar models there for you to complete. Now, the red value is 48. There's 4 sections that go there. So what would be in each section? The second one, the green value, is 35, the product. How many sections are there? Should we count? Did we get that? Yeah, it's 5, aren't there? So it's 5. So what would be in each section? Has anybody done the first one? Pause it if you haven't. Let's see. Well, we can see 12 lots of 4 make 48. Therefore, each of our 4 sections, the factor that goes with 4 is going to be 12. Each of our 4 sections needs to have 12 in it because 12 add 12 add 12 add 12 makes 48. Our second section then, our second one, we've got 35 as our product. So which factor? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what factor goes with 5? It's 7, isn't it? So 7 add 7 add 7 add 7 add 7 is 35. Right, guys, I'd like you to try and use your knowledge of bar models in this work today. So you've got a sheet, and the first part of the sheet is called a 1 chili section. So it's kind of easy-ish. Okay, you can see some of them have been split. The first 2 have been split up for you. Okay, the first one's got 12 written in the top bar. The second one hasn't got 36 written, but I'd like you to figure out where 36 goes, and then what should be in each box. To the right-hand side, you can see that it's got 2, and then that should be a division sign, but I couldn't make it on a sheet, so I used a little tick thing. So sorry about that, guys. But it's the idea, 12 divided by 2. 34, it should say 36. I've made a mistake. It should say 36 divided by 4 for the second one. And the third one is 24 divided by 3. Now, where it's saying 24 divided by 3, the bottom row on your bar model there hasn't been split yet. How many parts are you going to divide it into if it's divided by 3? Can you complete those 3 bar models? And if you think that's okay, have a go at these next ones. You can see here, I've got 64 divided by 4 as my number sentence, but I haven't split up my bar model. I haven't written my divisions calculation to the right-hand side of it. 39 divided by 3, now it's getting trickier because some of my factors are going to be greater than 12. Bit of a clue there. Can you work that out? For 75 divided by 5, bigger still. See if you can work these values out. The reason these are 2 chilly numbers or 2 chilly questions is because the numbers are a bit bigger. But it's the same idea. So if you're confident using those, that'll help you to divide them. See if you can solve them. And then got some problems where there's no bar drawn for you. And this is when you want to get a nice straight object. So even if you haven't got a ruler, you can use something like a DVD case, and you get a DVD case or something sharp, and you draw down the side of it, and you draw down the side, and you make your bar yourself. And so you can see Jim's got 72 sweets, and he wants to share them into 6 equal bags. So how many is he going to put in each one? So you've got 72 on the top. How many sections there? 6, isn't it? Okay, and then you're going to put the other factor that goes with 6 in each of those boxes. There we've got 32, 4 in each tray. Well, how many trays will you have then? And then you're going to think about 24 divided by 4. And can you write a really interesting word problem for that? Great stuff, guys. Thank you for listening about bar models. Main work today in the other video is about giving change, and I know you could even use a bar model for this. Now, bar models aren't just about division and multiplication. Sometimes they can be used for addition and subtraction. So you see here, you've got Danny, and she's got £5. She gets £2.60 back, so she gets £2.60 back. So the red section of that bar is showing how much the milkshake cost. Bar models are really easy just to understand in your head what you're being asked to solve. I think they're a really useful tool, good thing to practice using. As well as the work for today, you'll also be receiving the answer sheets for the add money and subtracting money work that you've been doing. So thank you for sending those through, Miss Ashford. Looking forward to seeing you all soon, year 3. You're doing so well, I called you year 6 nearly there. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.